Hey everybody! I made the most incredible turkey tetrazzini with fettuccine noodles for dinner tonight, and I wish I had videotaped the recipe, but before I forget, because I didn't actually follow a recipe and I made it up as I went along, I want to verbally tell you how I made the recipe, and I will, so this is my verbal tutorial and then I'll also do I'll write out the recipe or type it up and submit it with this post with a picture of the final dish. So dinner's already over and I've already started cleaning up, but before I forget how to make it, I thought I would share how I made it and the steps that I took. So for Easter, I made a turkey breast, a Genio turkey breast from that I got at Aldi. And man, if you have an Aldi near you, I would just highly recommend you go and check it out because they really have some wonderful products and really good prices. So I got my turkey breast for Easter and we cooked that, and so of course, you know, even though I just bought the breast, the double breast, I still had leftovers, so I had to figure out a way to, you know, what am I going to do with the leftover turkey? So I decided to make turkey tetrazzini. So I had a cup, a little over a cup of my turkey chopped up and set aside. And then I had bought a huge portobello mushroom. I mean, that sucker was big. It was a big one. So I diced that up, and I would say that was probably more than a cup, probably more like a cup and a half of mushroom by the time I chopped it all up. So in my saute pan, I melted a tablespoon of garlic ghee butter. And you guys have heard me talk about ghee butter before. This is a brand that I found recently. It's from Fourth and Heart. And ghee butter is basically butter that has been slow cooked, so all the water and milk solids are cooked out, and it's reduced down. It's also known as clarified butter. It has a high temperature cooking point, so it doesn't burn like regular butter does. It doesn't brown, and it's really good, and it's really good for you, especially if you get a grass-fed. And I only had a tablespoon left of my garlic ghee butter. This is the Madagascar vanilla bean, which I use for more like baked products, or sometimes I stir it in my coffee. It's really yummy. So I threw in a tablespoon of the ghee butter and about a tablespoon and a half of extra virgin olive oil. And then I put in my mushrooms, and I chopped 2 green onions, and I put that in there with the mushrooms, and I cooked that. You just saute that, you know, stir it often over like a medium heat. You don't want to salt your mushrooms before they are cooked, at least halfway cooked, because they tend to get rubbery. So just a little tip there. And so I cooked those down, I sauteed them, and then I added 2 ounces of sherry cooking wine. And for tetrazzini, you really need to use sherry. You can use the Holland House brand sherry cooking wine, or you could use real sherry, you could use white wine. And if you don't have ghee butter, you could just substitute butter. So I threw in 2 ounces, which is a quarter cup of sherry, into the saute pan with the mushrooms and onions. And then I salted it, and I always use Himalayan pink salt. I always use, you know, this is just one brand that I have, a Himalayan pink salt, because it's really so much better for you. And I just did a couple of grinds of that and a couple of grinds of black fresh pepper, and let the sherry cook down until it was almost gone. Then I stirred in 2 tablespoons of butter. Use good butter. Use your grass-fed butter if you can find it. It's just so much better for you. And it tastes so much better too. So I melted the butter, and then I threw in a tablespoon of flour. And I stirred my mushrooms with the flour, and it kind of looks, you know, flour-coated mushrooms. It kind of looks all mushy and stuff, but Then you just cook that for maybe 30 seconds to a minute. Just saute it around, stir it around in the pan. Then I added a cup of chicken broth. I use the Simply Nature that I also get from Aldi chicken broth. It's organic. You can use any brand you like, but if you're going to cook good quality food that tastes delicious, you've got to use good ingredients. So try to stay away from ingredients that have artificial flavors and all kinds of words you can't pronounce. So I like to read labels, and if I can pronounce everything on there and I know what it is, then I buy it. So I used organic chicken broth. So 1 cup chicken broth to those mushrooms and flour and butter mixture. Stir that around, and then you add 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Yes, I know. Calories, right? But it's so good. Sometimes you just have to splurge a little bit. So 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, 2 tablespoons more of sherry, and then you're going to stir that over a medium heat. It's going to begin to boil. Reduce it down to low. It's going to start to thicken. Oh, I forgot the most important part. So let me backtrack. You got your broth in the pan. You've got your whipping cream in the pan. You've got your extra 2 tablespoons of sherry in the pan, right? And then you're going to add Swiss cheese. Now, I found this delicious Emmental Swiss cheese. It's imported from Switzerland, and I got it at Aldi. It's their specially select brand. I don't know if you could see that. It was a big chunk like that. Let's take it out. So I used half. It's 7 ounces, so I used 3.5 ounces. I grated it finely with my little tiny grater. Do you believe this is the only grater that I have in my house? It's so tiny, but it shreds really good for a little tiny grater. These graters, by the way, not to get off track, but I'm just going to tell you, if you can find one of these, you can pick them up anywhere, Walmart, Target, Bed Bath & Beyond. They are awesome. They are awesome for grating garlic cloves on there. Just, want to watch that you don't scrape your finger. So I do garlic cloves on here. I do nutmeg on here, fresh nutmeg, which I also put in the recipe. And you can also grate cheese. It might take a long time, but so you might want to have one of those real graters, which I can't believe I don't own. So I need to get one. But I finally shredded the Emmental, this imported delicious cheese. And the first ingredient is raw milk, which made me really happy. So it's a really good quality. It costs a little bit more, but it's also, again, it's worth it. It has full flavor and a really nutty finish to it. And actually it says that. It's full or aromatic taste with a distinctive nutty flavor. It's really good Swiss cheese. But use any Swiss cheese you want. This is just the one I happened to buy today, and I'm really glad I did. I'm really happy with the product. Thank you, Aldi, again. So I added my chicken broth, right? Whipping cream, sherry, 3.5 ounces of finely shredded Emmental cheese. And then I added a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. I actually just used the Parmesan Romano. I like the blend. Just the Kraft. Use whatever you want. But I just have this on hand, so I threw in a 1/4 cup of that. And then I took my fresh nutmeg. I really miss having a Penzi spice. I know you can order online and through their catalog, but that's where I get my spices from. I used to have one near where I lived. I don't have one near where I live anymore. But this is a whole nutmeg. And so this is actually the one that I used. So I just grated, that much right into the sauce, stirred that around, let it get thick, tasted it, taste for salt and pepper, added a little bit more salt, and then I added white pepper. I really love the flavor of white pepper for certain dishes. And with a creamy white sauce. You really don't want to see a lot of black pepper in there, and but you want the flavor of pepper. So I use white pepper. Try it if you haven't. It's really delicious. And so I'm just trying to remember everything that I did, because I have to write this recipe down because it was so good and I want to remember for the next time I make it. Okay, so my sauce was thickened, so I just moved the pan back and put it on low just to keep it warm, and kept stirring it every once in a while. And then, I had my pasta water boiling. I used 8 ounces of fettuccine. And so I got that going, and then I wanted turkey tetrazzini. Usually has like a breadcrumb topping, and it's usually baked. So this one you do not bake. You're just making your sauce, you're boiling your pasta, and then you're gonna sprinkle over some breadcrumbs. So what I did, I toasted the breadcrumbs on top of the stove. I melted two more tablespoons of butter, just regular good butter. And I used Italian seasoned breadcrumbs. I used 3 tablespoons. So as soon as the butter was melted, I added in my 3 tablespoons of Italian breadcrumbs. And then I added in a teaspoon of dried parsley to that, and stirred it around. And you just stir it around till you start to see the breadcrumbs brown really nice. And then you just take it off the heat, set it aside. I let it cool down a little bit, and I threw in another tablespoon of grated cheese. So you have this breadcrumb cheese parsley mixture, buttery breadcrumb, so yummy. So then it was just time to get it ready. My pasta got done. I drained it, poured it back, put the pasta back in my big pan, and I poured about 1/3 of the sauce. Oh, the turkey! You gotta add the turkey. See, it's a good thing I talked this through, and I'm telling you, I'm sharing this with you. Otherwise, I would forget, right? So you got to add your turkey to your sauce. So after my sauce got thickened, and I moved it to the back burner on a low heat to keep it warm, I put in my cup of chopped turkey that I had left over, and I just let that heat through and just stir it often as you're going along. So you get that nice and hot, and make sure you taste your sauce for salt and pepper. And so pasta's back in the pot, fully drained. I added 1/3 of my tetrazzini sauce to my pasta, mixed it all up, and then I plated it individually. Now, depending on how much pasta you eat, and this could serve anywhere from 2 to 4 people, I think. The way I portioned it out for us, and because it was so yummy, it might have been too much, but I would have got 3 equal portions out of it. But you would probably stretch it to 4, and then serve it with a nice salad and some good bread. Well, we just went straight for the we didn't do no salad tonight. We just had the turkey tetrazzini. No, Louis did have bread, but I did not. So some homemade bread that I made the other day, but it was just so delicious. So spoon portion out your fettuccine with your sauce, and then you pour your extra sauce over the top. It would have made 4 dishes, I'm sure, but we ate, so that's 2, plus I have another equal serving of what we ate in the fridge. So maybe we'll have it as a side dish and make it 2 small servings. I don't know. Or I might just eat it later. Pour your extra sauce over the top. Sprinkle on equal portions, of the breadcrumb cheese parsley mixture over that. And voila. I mean, it is to die for. If you love mushrooms and you love fettuccine and you love a creamy sauce, the Swiss cheese works so well with sherry cooking wine, or like I said, you could use sherry or white wine. Sherry makes the tetrazzini. And the Swiss cheese, which is not something I've ever done before, but I decided to try. Oh my God, mixed with the Parmesan. Oh, it was so good. So I hope you try this recipe. I will also post the recipe along with this video and the picture of my finished dinner that we had tonight, the turkey tetrazzini. And hopefully I've remembered everything because I'm going to play this back to myself so I can write out the recipe and then add it to the post. So thanks for watching, you guys. Hope you enjoy the videos that I make, and bon appetit.